Thank you for joining us this evening for April 11th, 2024 Monte Sereno Better Streets Commission regular meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist the commission, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. For today's meeting, Zoom is being used to allow public participation with the Better Streets Commission regular meeting. For those using Zoom to participate, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a commissioner speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the chair and unable to speak to the commission. Only attendees using the Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from a telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide feedback or public comment. Lastly, when we're not all in the same room, all votes in the meeting must be taken by roll call.
Okay, I will now call the Better Streets Commission meeting for April 11th to order. Okay, roll call please.
Commissioner Bill, not present. Commissioner Nasarova. Present. Commissioner Chapin.
Here.
Councilmember White. Or I'm sorry, Commissioner White. When I have that. He is not going to be in today. And Chair Lawler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Moving on to oral communications. Are there any members of the public here wishing to speak on items not on the agenda today?
No hands are raised.
All right, seeing none. We'll move on to written communications. Have you received anything? I think we just got this.
Yes, so there were some public comments that came in for an agenda item. I've gone ahead and uploaded them onto the agenda as well as provided you hard copies for you to review.
Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to unfinished.
These are public comments.
This is a public comment. I don't see any other.
It looks like guidance
It's
from
just the,
staff to me.
Well, it's not from staff. This was something that, a resident wanted us to forward
Oh,
to you.
okay,
Yes,
So this is it.
so that's the whole
This
thing.
is the public comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole.
Sorry about that.
I know, it's a good question. Okay, unfinished business, consideration of Days Avenue Esper safety measures. Daryl, maybe have a report, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming out tonight, especially those in the community. This is one of our exciting projects in town as far as our CIP projects. You've seen these plans before. We've reviewed these before. But tonight, I'd like to go into a little just more detail and get some feedback from this committee and folks from the community of maybe how we could phase this project in. What would be the best way to phase that project in? What are the elements that you really want to see that you would think would be effective on this safety corridor? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile feedback that I've gotten from our ad hoc committee. I've met with our two persons from our city council on our ad hoc committee on this specific project, and I've got specific direction from those two. I do have some direction also from council, what they would like to see. We've had an outreach meeting with Sarah. She helped us put this on for the actual immediate residents around the project. We have that feedback. And finally, tonight, I'm going to get your feedback, and we're going to compile all this and present this back to council on what's the best way to build this project in phases. And if it is in phases, what elements are the best elements to pursue? So I'm going to review with you the report that I gave council last week. I'll just read through it real quick if you haven't had a chance to review it. Excuse me. The background information includes that Dave's Avenue Esker was originated from multiple safety concerns. Several vehicular accidents have occurred from westbound traffic entering the bottom of the curves at high speeds. As a result, public mailboxes, pavement, and curbs have been damaged. Fortunately, no serious injuries to drivers, pedestrians, or cyclists have occurred. As a result of the past incidents, additional concerns were discussed regarding traffic calming mechanisms to reduce speeds, protect pedestrians and cyclists. Staff contracted with a reputable traffic engineering consultant, Kimley Horn and Associates. They're the ones who have done the plans, which you'll see here again on the screen tonight, to provide a multitude of options to enhance the safety along the corridor. These measures include striping to narrow the width of the travel lanes, striped bike lanes, vertical bollards, zebra and small bumps, and signage. As reported last December, the design plans were completed, which you have reviewed before and delivered to staff. Staff report stated public outreach events would be scheduled early in 2024. Sarah has done that for us, and we have results to report back to you on that. 2 neighborhood outreach events were hosted here at City Hall. The first took place in early January. The second meeting was held in the evening of March 4th. The first meeting had 4 participants and the second meeting registered 16 local residents, including the local school principal. Each element of the safety plan was presented to the attendees. Every attendee contributed to the discussion and commented on which safety elements they were in favor of. Sarah polled each and every single one of them, and they voted on each one of the elements that are included in the plan. So we have that report for you here with speed tables, bollards, extension of sidewalk, flashing speed sign, and striping, as you can see there. As far as the analysis goes, the outreach events were very successful in regard to resident input and preference. Residents clearly supported the installation of limited improvements along the S-curve. However, they expressed the preferences of maintaining the rural feel for their neighborhood. They really strongly emphasized that. Staff reported the comments and recommendations for the neighborhood to City Council. On April 2nd, Council requested that staff meet with the ad hoc committee, which I did earlier this morning, and Better Streets Committee tonight to receive input from each of them prior to reporting back to our City Council next month. Staff is agreeable to a phased approach, including sidewalks at 2 corners with speed tables, and any addition of traffic calming suggestions that you'll see in these plans as well. If approved by the City Council, I deem it best to bid this project with our annual city pavement project, which we've reviewed in the past, to get a better cost to avoid the mobility costs as a separate project. As you may recall, the fiscal impact of this project is limited by a budget of $60,000 for the construction, pending on which elements the council would like to pursue. An estimate will need to be adjusted if additional funds may be required. So once we decide on which elements that the council wants to employ, then I'll have a cost estimate that goes along with that and show them what it will cost and where that falls within that $60,000 range. So do you have the plans?
Yeah.
So I'm going to refresh your memory here. It's been a while with the plans up here on the this half little.
So you can.
Okay. Okay, so here is our corridor. That's fine, you're good right here. The S-curve here, the top of the S-curve, which I call, and the bottom of the S-curve, which you call. If you remember, we had at least that I know of, a couple, 2 major accidents that happened right here, collisions, coming around too fast around this corner down here, taking out the mailboxes, curbs and gutters and other damages. I am told that there's been some other issues up here. I have requested over the last 5 years, a traffic report from the PD, which I hopefully will get in the next few weeks and be able to report back to council on what the extents were of those. So I just don't have, I've only been here for less than a year. I don't have that history here, so that may help. What the local residents, matter of fact, I'm gonna let Sarah chime in here a little bit. Sarah, what did the local residents prefer in regards to the elements?
I'm not sure if is this microphone on there? Okay,
You're good.
well, the local, residents preferred speed bumps, minimally. And they were also hoping for an extension of the sidewalk. They, vehemently opposed any type of ballards, similar to what they have on Winchester Boulevard. And can you hear me okay? Yes. Yeah, and, based on their experience, they felt that speed bumps or speed tables, depending on what would be more appropriate, based on fire department input, that's what they thought was most appropriate. There was absolutely no one in favor of ballards. And, that was really the main input that we got. The principal came from Dave's Avenue. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that area, but the sidewalk sort of ends just as you come to the S-curve. And so one of our plans, I think the city's overall general plan is to eventually extend that sidewalk. But if that's something that could be done, that would be very helpful because there are a lot of school children that walk along that route to Dave's Avenue School. So those were the 2 main items that the group was interested in. There was also talk about having possibly a sign that would show the speed of the car. But the main items that the neighborhood wanted were the speed bumps and basically the extension of the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Sure.
So just a little clarification on that. We were looking at potentially a couple speed tables, some around here, which I would have to calculate with the MUTC code and the Caltrans code. There are certain formulas that I would need to calculate with the speeds. But perhaps putting one here and perhaps putting one down around here as they approach the S-curve with the higher speeds. Along with that, the sidewalk that Sarah was talking about would be, I'm calculating a cost estimate right now, which would be around this curve and down around this curve to this little dirt area down here where the kids can walk around this curve and get off of the pavement. Hopefully in the future, we'll have the money to complete this street or the sidewalk and the one back here too, all the way down here and all the way here. It's in our bike and ped master plan that we could hopefully put a sidewalk all the way down through this whole corridor. It's rather expensive in the $1 million cost range, so we'll see what we can do within the $60,000 project if all the groups want to pursue that as an option, as an element to build here with the project. Along with the ones that Sarah talked about, the plan has several other elements in it. You go to the next sheet. Yeah, here. So here's some where's the there it is, right there. Okay, this is a really interesting element here on the bottom. You see these little tags along the center of the road. You see the vehicle traveling along that corridor. You see how they reduce the spacing as you move along? What that does is give you a visual feedback that you're accelerating. Even if you're at the same speed, your mind and thoughts are gonna say, why am I speeding up so fast? It's gonna look like you're speeding as you go through that with the same speed. So what it does is it gives you the feedback that you need to slow down. That's one element you'll see on the overall master plan. As well as above that, you can see those little oval shapes. Right there, those are what we call zebras, little diagonal bumps, and it's very uncomfortable if you run over those things. And the little circles there, those are bollards. So this design actually came up with bollards too, that you've seen throughout Los Gatos. And these can come in different colors or whatever the public likes, but this is also another barrier to keep the vehicle traveling on top, to keep them away from any pedestrians or bicyclists on the other sides. It's a buffer. And I think the other diagonal just above that is just some more buffering type of striping to keep the vehicles away from the pedestrians and the bicyclists. So these are the multiple elements that you've seen before. We're open to any new ideas or modifications, and particularly tonight, we're gonna get some feedback from our folks here. But I'd like you to think about if we can't do everything here, how would you like to see this phased in? There's a thought process that goes in. Well, let's go in with the most passive design, maybe some striping, whatever, to get it started. Maybe some bumps, some bollards, whatever. We do the speed tables later as the last result if we're really not getting that speed down. Others say, let's just go right to the speed tables and hit the speed right off the bat and maybe not do the other thing. So you have so many options to do here as far as how we would phase this in. I'm very interested in what your input's gonna be tonight on how you think the best way to phase this in and how we build the project. I guess we could comment for public comment.
Well, they can
Okay,
discuss
go ahead.
and ask you questions.
Well, thank you
Yes.
for the presentation and thank you, Sarah. It's great. I'm glad that it's here for us to be discussing because this is why we exist.
Right.
And so this is great. I appreciate that. Any questions? Natalia, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So the pedestrian,
Can you turn your microphone? Just
the pedestrian sidewalk, you said it cost 1 million to build. And we have only $60,000. So what is within the budget? The
Okay.
speed bumps, what are the other elements?
Right. Let me clarify, Natalia. The $1 million price tag was for thousands of feet of sidewalk, far beyond both ends. It's the whole neighborhood and all the way back down to connecting by the school. So that's
Also,
a very,
it's not only escrow.
it's not just this S-curve, no. So that's why we're looking at maybe just the corners for now.
Uh-huh.
That may cost us about $20,000-$30,000 just for the sidewalks. So that may be half of our budget. If we do that, I'm actually getting real numbers from real bids from Los Gatos right now. If we don't do those and we implement what you see on the plan here, our cost estimate, including a speed feedback sign, which is down on the lower curve, would be $65,000. So we're already over budget with that. So if we cut the speed feedback sign out, that takes about 15,000 out, then we're back around 50 with a contingency. We could probably do almost all of this without the speed feedback sign, with no speed tables in that price from what the consultant has told us. So we're close to that budget, but you may not want to do all those. So it's your choice of what elements that you want to implement.
Yeah, got it. And I have one more question. During the accident, I remember the person was under the influence. So how safe is to install the speed bumps if someone is driving under the influence and totally don't see them? Then the car could go just different direction and behave even weird,
That's
more
a,
unpredictable
that's
than
a-
if it would not be.
right. That's a really good question. If you do hit that at high speed, you could become disoriented and unable to handle a vehicle. If the person's already under the influence, I'm not sure how much that is going to affect them, except that when you do hit that bump, if you hit it far enough in front of Dave's Avenue at the beginning there, typically, depending how fast they're going, you will react and hit a brake. Now, there's what some people call, like, there's an X factor. There's people outside going 70, 80 miles an hour out of their mind. Nothing we do is gonna stop them from crashing. Nothing we can do. I don't care what we put in there, right? But for the most of us, the 80% of us that drive these corridors, that would be an effective way. You may hit it for the first time and not realize what it is, but your coffee's gonna go all over yourself in your car, or you're gonna feel really uncomfortable. Most of us don't travel more than 40 miles an hour on that street. So even if we do hit it, it will be uncomfortable, but we won't be out of control. If you're at high excessive speeds, you know, who knows what's gonna happen? Will you have time to recover? Maybe, maybe not. But that's.
I was thinking that maybe we should consider doing a smaller bumps, but two of them.
Let's stick to questions right now, and then we can bring it back to discussion.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
discussion part, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I went straight.
Yeah, you did, no, it's great.
Those are good questions.
Yeah,
So there's a car shown on the right and then another one up. Is that a parked car?
It is a parked car.
Okay, so that, is a parking lane. And
It is now, and that's a concern that the local residents have. If we put bollards in there, it may restrict their ability to park there, or their landscaper to park there, or their delivery person, or their trash pickup. So we actually had Mr. Megchek gave us a great, another great input, that we do need to reach out to those different sources and talk to the postal office and the FedEx folks and the trash people and everybody else who has to use that corridor now, and get a little bit more feedback from them too before we're making any final decisions on that. That's a good question.
so the vision here, where would a cyclist and where would a pedestrian be? On that side of the street right there?
Okay, the pedestrian or the cyclist, specifically the cyclist, but both the pedestrian as well, will be on the outside of the bollards or those bumps. So where you see those little circles,
Mhm.
there's the travel lane just to the other side of the circles. So where the cars are parked, that would be the bike lane, the pedestrian lane. You see that van parked there?
So the bike lane and the parking area are the same?
Yeah, but it would no longer be a parking area, it would be a bike lane and a pedestrian lane.
any more questions? Okay, I have a couple of questions. Okay, so we were talking about the cost. So under alternative one, which would be the two or three speed tables in the city council agenda, I think there was 3 mentioned.
We talked about 3. We've looked at the warrants for that. We don't think that the middle one, I don't think the middle one's warranted.
Okay, so two
So two.
speed tables
And those may cost $8,000 to $10,000 a piece.
a piece, and then a flashing light. So then we're looking at
$15,000.
35,000. And then whatever we can do with the sidewalk, you said 20 to 30.
Right,
Okay. And then the sidewalk, are we talking about, I walk my dogs along there all the time, so I
Right.
know that on the southeast corner,
yes.
it kind of dies out over here. So are you talking about extending it to the corner, to the mayor's house?
Right there, we would dig into that bank right there and build a little retaining wall.
Okay,
So we'd come away from that curve back into the,
oh, I see,
because you can see,
Yeah.
see that dash line, that's actually the city right away.
right,
So we have plenty of room out there,
okay.
so
And that would be the 20 to 30,000 just for that piece?
just the little piece there and the little piece on the top.
Oh, on the top?
Yeah, just the two curves,
Okay.
curve, bottom curve.
Okay, okay. Okay, that's good to know. Second question is, in this report, a stop sign was discussed at Equestrian Way. How much would that warrant study cost us typically?
I would do it, so it wouldn't cost, it'd be on my time.
Okay,
There'd be no cost, just time.
all right, just time. Great, thank you. And then the last question I had was, you mentioned zebra bumps
Mhm.
as an option. Do they make a lot of noise when people drive over them?
They do, thump, 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 yeah,
Right, so that, I would imagine the neighbors would not be happy about that.
that would be the
Noise
positive and
pollution.
negatives of everything.
Noise
right?
pollution.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, those are my questions as of now. I would like to, anybody else have any questions before I open it up? Okay, I'd like to open it up to members of the public. Are there any members here in online or in chambers wishing to speak on this item? You get 3 minutes.
I will.
Council, just come up and state your name
Okay.
and where any.
My name's Bart Call.
Mhm.
I live on the S curve.
Lucy's dad.
I'm Maddie's dad. That's right. So can you pull up the map again?
Oh, give me 1 second,
And
sorry.
you'll get 3 minutes.
Okay.
So she'll put the timer on for you too.
Yeah, I'm known as Maddie's dad. It's-
That's a compliment, right?
Mhm.
Get back to this.
Okay, so that's my house right there on the S curve.
Right at the corner there?
Yeah, right at the corner.
All right.
So we were at the meeting on March 3rd, and we sat here with all the neighbors for Dave's and the streets around Dave's, and I think all of them thought, and I appreciate everybody working on this, by the way. We've lived there for 25 years and lived through a few accidents, so the speed tables or speed
Yes.
bumps, we all agreed, 16 people in here. I thought we had 20 here, but 16 people all agreed that was the best route to go to start. The suggestion of a stop sign at Equestrian, which you just brought up, would absolutely slow people down from coming from, I believe it's Palos Verdes is where they speed up. That's the last stop sign. So if they stop at Equestrian and then there's a speed bump, how much more do you need to do? Really, for coming that direction? The other side, coming the other direction, as long as there's a speed table or speed bump and signage saying that there's a speed bump and you're about to hit it, pretty simple. And then, as far as the sidewalks, we all agree, sidewalks need to be put in. I see people, not just kids walking, but people walking their dogs every day, and they have to walk across the street as people are coming around the corner and not knowing which side to be on. So sidewalks would be a great idea, at least at the corners. Past that, I did hear everyone speak up about the bollards, and I'm not sure if anyone's pushing the bollards, but the whole neighborhood and everyone around there is 100% against bollards, especially the green ones like on Winchester. Anything standing up is an absolute no. And then as far as the parking and stuff, you hit it. We've got a lot of people that stop at all those houses along the way. I don't know that putting anything in the way of allowing people to park or the mailman pulling up, all of our mailboxes are right there, deliveries, everything. It doesn't make sense to close that off. I think all the streets in Monte Sereno are similar to that, where you park, that you're always parked a little bit in the road, not quite. Here, you're not parked in the road, and people navigate around you when they're they're going around you on a bike or walking. So, our 2 cents, and the meeting was I just found out about the meeting tonight. We'd have more people from the neighborhood here, but I know they didn't hear about it, so. Just want to make sure it's on the record. No ballards. No ballards. Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
You have a timer?
Yeah, I've got it here. Do
Can we keep the map up?
you want to keep it up? Okay,
Please.
I've got the timer right here.
Peter Gall, I'm been living in Monte Sereno since 2016. I'm on the S curve. I live on a private street across from Via Caballero. In my opinion, there's about 4 sections in Monte Sereno that are on the dangerous side, this curve in particular. And I did want to mention a story that happened to me a couple of years ago around this particular curve, I think in front of your house.
Yeah.
Because there's some bushes there. A dog from across the street attacked my dog, and I had to kneel down to try to get the other dog off my dog. And I was below the bush level, and thank God I used to carry a walking stick to protect against coyotes. I don't anymore, but cars, in my opinion, speed around these curves as close to the curve in some cases as they possibly can. This one, and on the other side where that White House is, yeah, around there. They come as close as possible, so anything that could keep, if there's a walkway being built, I don't know about bollards, but some space that could be built there that would allow for a person or a person with their dogs or kids to be able to walk safely around those curves without having another car zooming around, because the cars could not see me. And I waved my stick out, and a couple cars stopped and helped me with the dog and everything. That was great that time, but they do go rather fast around these particular sections. There's also Via Caballero stop sign that, in my opinion, is on the wrong side of my driveway. I know you don't have that on your map probably, but there's a driveway that goes up that services 3 homes. The stop sign is here. I believe it should be here. And as we know, cars speed rather quickly from the Highway 9 section down to the S curve. They race down there all the time, and they frequently go through that stop sign.
I'll check it.
Yes, thank you.
Sidewalk.
I got one. Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, before I start my timer, can you pull up the email that I sent? Please?
Images?
Yeah. And did you receive an email from anyone else in the past 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
I haven't.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if.
Yeah,
Daryl was-
Daryl, you should maybe check your email. Ah, there we go.
No, I just
That's
haven't.
one. Do you want to start with that one or do you want the other one first?
You can start with this one.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My name's Brian Mekachuk. I think I know everyone here. I am horrified at the collision that I saw at the S curve in March of 2023. And obviously, it's not that big of a deal because we haven't done anything on it yet. And it's been over a year since that happened. And I think we need to address this. I believe we need to take a long-term approach, a phased approach, and do what works. I really think that you've got to read the Kimley Horn report, and it was by a person by the name of Naomi Willis, and she came here and went on site. She flew here from SoCal. She is one of the experts in the United States. She's from SoCal. She flew up, walked the S curve, and that was before Daryl joined and before Sarah. She's made a couple of very interesting points, and in the City of Monte Sereno S curve project the public comment that was submitted. This actually is not a published document, but if you go to the third bullet point, I'll quote, use multiple layers of traffic calming, and she calls it countermeasures that will make lane narrowing more effective and reduce traffic speed. And it's all about making things appear smaller so that people naturally go slow, slow down. There's no single bullet. You can't say, here, I want this one or this one. She recommends you do all of these things because not a person will be slow down because of one of them. And if you want to cherry pick them, that's fine, but I think you should stick with what one of the leading experts says. I think we should take a phased approach and understand how what she's recommending works. But here you can see these are the zebras, and this is a bike lane. That's a 2-lane bike lane on the right-hand side with the zebras in the middle. Go to the next slide, please, or the next page. And these photos I took approximately a month ago in Mendoza, Argentina. Argentina, you could do an eye roll and say, you know, what do Argentines know? But they have public health care. So they have to pay for all the trauma, and they don't have much money to invest. So they have leading practices in the world in terms of how do you reduce speed effectively so that people don't get injured. And, so this is this the same as the other one? So here you see the motorcycles on the curb, and the left-hand side, you see the zebras. These have a low profile start and they're diagonal at the left-hand side. So if you just hit them, they sort of wake you up. But if you hit the center of them, like that'll rattle your cage, you know? So they're not short squat ones. And I think Naomi had the other ones in there.
I'll have that stuff.
And I don't want to go all through this, but I think that it's worth your time to go through the 3-page document. And then also the implementation plan. This was presented to the Better Streets a year ago. That was before you joined. I'm pretty sure it was, but I think we should do a pilot on this. And for example, bollards, they work. People say, oh, you know what? I don't like them on Winchester. You may not like the color, but people slow down. And the objective is the first thing you should do. Is the objective to have Monte Sereno look like, you know, its rural heritage, or do you want safety? You know, I think we err on the side of safety at this point in time. And you don't have the photos that were shown before of the collision. I think Chair Lawler, you were there on the day that happened.
I went to go see it.
Yeah. The mailbox, that's the 6th time that mailbox has been taken out. And I would echo your comment where you take a phased approach and you say, what are the passive things? What are the things that don't cause noise? What are the things that don't require a mechanical, like a flashing light? Do the passive things, and if those don't work, then move to the active things, like a flashing light. I think City Manager Leonardis's suggestion to go 13.5 miles an hour and 13 miles an hour, I think that's brilliant. People say 13.5 miles an hour. Well, that's not like halfway between 10 and 15. It's a weird number, just so that people start to get it. So I'm available if you have any questions.
I do have a question, actually. Do you live on the S-curve?
I don't live on the S-curve, but that's a great question. I cycle, and in the past 90 days, I've gone through the S-curve on my bicycle 37 to 38 times.
You don't live on the S-curve?
I don't, but I do live on Winchester Boulevard where there are class 4 bike lanes. The bollards don't have to be green. There was no outreach by the town of Los Gatos on those. And so you could have brown ones, white ones, and green ones and figure out which ones you want. And if you don't want them, you don't have to install them. They're easy to put in. and stake out.
Okay, thank you.
So, I have a
Oh, yeah,
question.
question, more questions.
I'm confused about this document. I thought it came in today as public feedback, but you just said we should have seen it 6 months ago.
So the Word document you would not have seen, but Daryl would have, I sent it to him the first week that he joined Monte Sereno. The other document, I'm pretty sure I went through this with the Better Streets Commission. But my memory may fail me. It's,
Yeah, I would have to say that I remember when this happened, city council instigated the project. We were informed of it, but we were not asked to weigh in on it. And therefore, that is why we are here now, doing our due diligence as the appropriate body to weigh in on this. So thank you for referring it back to us.
yeah, when I was at the council meeting last week or the week before, it was to come up and to provide feedback. And I said, that's what the Better Streets Commission is for. I mean, this is, anyways, I'm really happy, but I think it's happened a little too quick. I think the one gentleman that commented said that if more neighbors would have heard, you know, it would, then they would have been here.
Okay, well, yes, that's always important. Thank
So
you.
can we comment?
Do you have a question for
Only
our
comment.
guest? Sure.
I like the idea of the zebra ones, especially if you put them, kind of like 45 degrees. It will usually slow down and no one wants to bump on them, so it's just an idea, something similar like that. And for me, I drive on Winchester often.
Yeah.
Ballers never strike me as something ugly, so I don't mind them too.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Thank you.
Can I make one more comment?
I think we're gonna take it back to comment. Thank you so much. All right, now back for discussion. Thank you for your input. Natalia, you want to go ahead and continue about what you were saying about what you'd like to see?
I think I said it.
Okay, so you like the zebra comment?
My first comment is about the process in that several years ago, this committee created a traffic calming policy, which was approved by the council just for this sort of purpose. And it doesn't look like it's even been looked at during this
Right.
process.
Right.
So, and if somebody doesn't, if we put in speed humps and somebody doesn't like them, they could say, you didn't even follow your own policy, and it could create legal jeopardy. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just saying, there's risk there.
Yeah, I don't recall there being, I think there was, I remember when I was first on the Better Streets Commission, we talked about various measures that could be used. And I remember people aren't in favor of speed bumps.
Mhm.
However, it sounds like the speed tables are of much different
Yeah,
beast.
but my real point is, we have an official traffic calming policy, and it's not being looked at.
We might need to pull that up really quick, if we can find it.
Was that adopted by council, if you recall?
I believe so, yes. Jessica was the
Oh
engineer
gosh, you have to
time.
go back to
It was after
20.
your time,
Oh, okay, so 2018,
but it was specifically used for Blanchard when we looked at speed humps up on Blanchard.
right.
And, I think taking away parking, I don't remember the specifics, and, you know, there needed to be a vote of the
Well,
affected
because
residents.
Blanchard was the first big project for the
Mhm.
pavement improvement project, the capital project, that was the first one.
But we said, how do we do this? And we need a policy in place.
Okay. Okay, well, good to point out. We should definitely refer to that. Do you have any, I'd like to comment. I think for me, honestly, the facts are very clear. One, we have a very dangerous curve situation, right? We have consistent accidents and it's only a matter of time before it's fatal. Whether it's a driver, a bicyclist, a pedestrian, a dog, it's dangerous. Two, the residents have made it very clear that they want something done. Three, they made it very clear what they want done. And these are the people who live there, who are going in and out of their homes every single day, multiple times a day. These are the stakeholders that were at the meetings. They made it very, very clear what they would like to see. We, as appointed commissioners and city council as elected officials, have a fiduciary duty to listen to and represent our residents. We are here for your safety and we are here to listen. So that said, I think the direction, you would like us to give some sort of direction in terms of how we would do this, how we would phase it in, looking at all the elements. So I would suggest that we start with what the residents want. Let's start with the speed tables and the flashing light and see, or even a stop sign at equestrian and see how it goes. This is a work in progress. Give it some time, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, enough time to gather enough data to know whether or not it's effective and get community feedback, neighbors, resident feedback to see how it's working. That's, at least we're doing something, because we can't just do nothing. If we do nothing, nothing happens. And then we're just proving to people that government is slow. We have the funds, it's easy to do, and it's easy to remedy. So I would suggest starting phase 1 with exactly what the residents wanted. And then going forward, have phase 2 set. In the event that phase 1 does not meet expectations, we have plan B or phase 2, and that may be to do the striping. But I will be clear, I don't think zebras are a good idea because they create noise, and neighbors don't like noise. I don't think the Ballards should be on the table at all because it is very clear, nobody wants them. And once you put those in, if you've got traffic, if you've got cars stopped, dropping things off in the middle of the road, I think that presents a far greater problem than not. So I would say we have to take those completely off the table and entertain any other options. I do like the idea of like phase 2 of optical striping. We know that works. The illusion that the lane is getting narrower or that you're going faster, those make sense and they are easy to implement. So that said, that is, I don't know how you all agree, but that's the direction I would like to see council go, because I think we need to really listen to what the residents want.
And then Commissioner, I actually was able to find the traffic calming policy for the residential streets. I don't know if that's something you guys want me to pull up. Or just because you.
Probably staff should look at it first.
Well, you, yeah, you
But
look at
we
it and
just
see if it's.
should acknowledge it exists.
But what I like about the speed tables too, and just to go to talk a little bit more about what the residents like, is that if there's concern that other people driving Dave's will be annoyed by them, we have to remember that the fire department okays these. And if the fire department is okay with them, we as residents should be too. And we understand that that curve really definitely needs something of any street in our city. It would be that S curve. So I think these are very reasonable suggestions on your part and of course on the residents' part on their feedback. And I think that it would be in their best interest and ours to go and to advise council to adopt this and move forward.
I would like to hear from, if we can, the person that did the work and the analysis and hear firsthand from them what they think is most effective.
I think that's what this is.
Is that what this is? I still haven't figured out what this is.
That's the full slide deck report
Yeah.
that we got.
That's the full plan of what you saw in the plans. And she's suggesting, a whole,
But see, here's the great thing about this. If we can get started with phase 1, which would be the speed humps, the lights, then we can revisit, go back and we can plan phase 2. So phase 2 would take into consideration all of these other elements as long as they are suitable to the neighborhood. That's, I think what you're asking is an opportunity to phase this in. This is a work in progress. So we start with the basics, see how it goes, and then we can add and modify it as needed, especially with feedback too from the community so that we can make it it's not gonna be perfect at the get-go. So we gotta do something.
I cannot support a specific solution now, given that I've just seen this for the first time. All I saw before was that drawing. It was quite vague, so, I mean, I personally need more information before I can support any kind of recommendation,
So,
in addition to the following policy.
okay, well, we need to look at the policy then. And does the policy have any specifics in terms of?
Well, one thing.
But here's where I'm going. We do have resident feedback. This is what they want. If we can do something that's minimal, and it's my understanding that it's very easy to remove if we implement it, if we decide this isn't working. So it's very easy to remove, even if we just did the speed humps or the speed tables.
Right.
That's my understanding. So it's not like we're spending a ton of money on something. I think time is of the essence, to be honest with you. I mean, these people have been waiting a long time for something to happen. Even if it's just a stop sign, maybe that would be it. Would that be more amenable? Is that something that you could be supportive of, a stop sign at equestrian as being a first?
Yeah, that's more
Does that seem
reasonable,
more
but I
reasonable?
still think we either need to follow the policy or make a conscious decision that it doesn't apply here.
Okay.
I will make sure that, staff reviews that policy before we make any recommendation or any direction from council. That will be part of the report, that will follow that policy, and anything will be backed up by that policy.
And speed humps in particular, or speed tables, I mean, if we do go that route, we need to keep in mind that, recreational and commuting cyclists, generally speaking, are gonna be in the middle of the lane.
Mhm.
So we need to make that safe for them. They're not gonna be able to follow that. So a big gap in it in the middle for bikes to pass with Sharrow signs.
Is that what they have? I looked up speed tables that you can rent. Now, perhaps that would be an idea if it's financially
Yeah,
better to rent for a short, very brief period of time, a month, 2 months, 3 months, those temporary speed tables that they look like they have, space in the middle, and I think they do for fire trucks as well, right? So maybe that would be an option where we could at least try something. It's not permanent. See how it goes.
The design that we proposed was the actual standard design from Santa Clara County Fire Department themselves. So
Okay.
this isn't a city standard, this is a county standard from the fire department that they will approve for their engines. So
And is it a solid hump, or are there,
it's a solid hump, it's flat, it's open on the sides on the bike lanes. So
okay,
you could traverse
so
the
it's
bike
only-
lanes, it's
okay.
only in the travel lane.
only in the travel lane? So
Yeah,
it
but-
doesn't,
but we need to be realistic where cyclists are gonna go around those corners. They're not gonna go in that tight little curve
right, well,
where
but
cars
the,
might be
but
parked.
the speed table is going to be, one's gonna be on Dave's,
Mhm.
40 feet from the curve.
Right. It won't be in the curve.
It won't be in the curve. It's only on the straight and narrow. So that shouldn't be an issue. It's just to slow the car down in time to see, oh, there's a curve again. So I don't anticipate that being a
No, I
problem
think-
for bicyclists.
Bicyclists usually ride in the lane on that road, because they're roughly the same speed as cars.
So
So
would
then you're
it
asking them to swerve around
swerve
the
around but
speed
the
hump.
speed hump wouldn't be,
No swerving, but yeah, I mean, it would have to laterally.
they'd have to go,
Yeah,
but there's the bike lane there on the north side.
but parking
On both
is
sides.
allowed there
Both
and
sides.
On
And
both
people-
sides, there's bike lane. I run there all the
Yeah.
time, so there is space.
there is space, but realistically, cyclists are in the middle of the road there. Because of the curves.
Right, okay.
Um,
So I guess you have to weigh the comfort of the cyclist over the safety of others
Well, I
on the
mean,
road.
you can
as well.
you can make a speed table so that it's acceptable to both. You don't need to weigh anything.
I'd be glad to talk to the fire department if we could leave a 2-foot gap in the middle of the speed table, if that's something that you
Yeah.
prefer.
I mean, I've seen that.
Matter of
Right,
fact,
we've
I'll
both
reach
seen
out
that.
to a few people I know who actually do ride that route.
Mhm.
Someone's here tonight, I'll ask them and see what type of a gap they would need to feel comfortable. Again, you're going in the middle of the travel lane, so
Right,
incoming traffic, that's not smart, but well,
I mean, they have to be around the corners. Or else they need to slow down to unacceptable speeds.
right, through the corners, they can be in the middle of the travel lane, but the speed
Right.
bumps will be well away from the curves.
right. And I know that there is space there is quite some space on both sides of the road there for bicyclists.
But
So I'm
parking
not
is
quite
allowed.
sure. Do you see a lot of cars parked there all the time? I don't.
I don't, but it is allowed.
But I don't, so I don't know, I mean, it's sort of weighing, what do the residents want now, and it's a safety issue. Can we do something to mitigate it now, and then we figure out if it's a
One
problem.
item just to add to that is if you'd want to pursue it, we could look at a wider lane on one of the sides, like a class 4 type protected bike lane slash pedestrian zone on one side of the street with the sidewalk. With that, protect that lane. But then again, some cyclists don't want that. They want to stay in a traffic lane. Some will use it.
Right.
But
Well, okay, so we can all agree
I have
that, okay,
Yeah.
we can all agree that a phased approach is the
Okay.
right approach.
okay,
Okay, we can agree on that.
thank you.
Now, go ahead.
I'm wondering how effective electronic signs are, because this street is used mostly during the day. And the sun is so bright there that sometimes electronic signs, they could not overpower the sun, and they just kind of blend in with the environment.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we should if we should spend time, money on electronic signs. I do like pavement markers that narrow down, something that Daryl suggested. I found them useful when I'm driving anywhere. Day or night, you see them anyway. I like maximize the width of the bike lane and increase radius. So those are easy to implement. You just paint it, right?
Right.
On asphalt. Then I found them personally the most effective one, and they don't distract much visually when you walk. Yes, and I like the idea of the unique speed sign,
Okay.
something with a unique number, because it does make you think, like,
Right.
what is it?
Yeah, it does make you think that.
Mhm.
Yes, and what I found least effective, is police radar trader to measure speed. I saw one on Kita Road, and everyone I think got used to just, it's always there, and yeah. It's the least effective.
Yeah.
And just another idea for the unique speed signs, we can put a temporary sign, saying that 6 accidents happened in the past, like year or 2 years. That would be very effective. It would be like, wow, people will be more careful.
Okay, great. So do you think, if I may respond to that, I think what we have here on this report is that the 16 residents, 16 or 20 that you talked to.
16, I talked to 20, but 16 actually showed up at the meeting.
Okay, so 100% support of speed tables. 100% oppose bollards. 100% support the extension of the sidewalk, that's an easy one. And they 100% support a flashing speed sign, which I believe will be located across from the Gulf's residence or
Yeah, near that.
near
speed
that
table.
corner and with the approval of the resident.
Right.
Under striping, the majority opposed striping because they thought it not be effective. So what I propose is we start with what the residents want in phase 1. In phase 2, if phase 1 is not effective, then we move on to the striping and the optical illusion type stuff. We add another layer. That would be phase 2 and potentially a stop sign, or maybe stop signs part of phase 1. Phase 3 then would be ultimately, I don't even know, because I think we should avoid bollards at all costs, but that would be including a bike lane structure or a dedicated bike lane or something or another that would be helpful. But I think we have the opportunity to do something now to get it started and then take into consideration all the bicyclists and get the community involved. They're gonna start talking about it. They're gonna start wanting to come in and say what's going on. And then we can take that input and then we could really create something that's worthwhile that everybody can live with. But I do think we have to do something now. It's important that for our kids and for our bikers and for our people walking dogs and our pedestrians, I think it's important. And for our neighbors, of course, we need to be able to protect their homes and their livelihoods.
I totally agree that we have to do something now. Maybe we can come in the middle with what commission likes to see and what residents like to see. And some items research a little deeper.
Okay, so we can come back.
For example, you said that some paintings on the curves.
Well, the striping, you were talking about the striping that creates the illusion.
There are some things that we both agree, the residents and the commissioners.
Yeah.
So maybe we can start with those as the first action of doing.
I think that's
things.
great, yeah,
We don't have to approve the whole $60,000 today.
I see, yeah,
Maybe
okay.
like some elements.
Some elements would mean, what about the sidewalks? Would that be then bid in a larger project?
We'll take whatever elements that each of the groups that I present to council,
Okay.
and council gives me the direction to spend the money on, and we'll maximize that $60,000
Okay.
on that first phase.
So in your opinion, what would be the most effective way to slow people down? If you could only pick one thing.
The most effective thing is to park a police car there. That's not gonna happen, okay? That is our best,
That's true, yeah,
that's our best
okay,
resource.
yeah.
And that's an active resource. The other active resource would be a speed table, because whether the policeman's there or not, that speed table is always there day or night, 24/7, holidays, weekends, it's always acting on that. But so does a passive maneuver, which is the striping. It's always there as well, but that's a passive, it's suggesting people to stay in the lanes. It's suggesting that you slow down. It's giving you feedback. Be a good driver, slow down, but it's not punitive.
Right,
And that's a question. Do you want to go to the punitive side and make it difficult for everybody to go through? There's 2 speed tables. Yeah, everybody has to pay the price for some poor drivers. Is that the safest way to keep that corridor safe? It may be.
right,
Or do you not go punitive and just go passive with striping and see if that works? And that's enough feedback to slow people down. That's the hard decision that you 3 need to make.
right. Well, the residents made it clear that they didn't like the striping because
You're
they
right.
felt it wasn't effective.
You're absolutely
So
right.
I think that shouldn't be the first line of defense. I think the first line of defense should be what they've asked for. And then if that is not effective, then we layer on the striping. And then if that's not effective, then we layer on the next, whatever that is, whether it's zebras or whatever we decide. But I think that, this is a great project just to do in layers and get feedback and modify so that we get it right. So that might be just the way to go at this point.
And what is in your opinion that residents wanted the most? Out of all the items?
Sure, I think what they wanted I don't think this is on. What they wanted the most was the speed tables. And then followed closely by the extension of the sidewalk. They really did not want striping or zebras or ballards. They wanted to start, slowly. And honestly, not all the neighbors are convinced that, the S-curve is that dangerous in the sense that a lot of the accidents have done, I'm repeating feedback from the neighbors, have been due to intoxication. And so, even though the S-curve is not, we can say that it's dangerous. We don't have statistics, but apparently many of the accidents have been caused by inebriation. So that was the feedback that the neighbors gave.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think most of the accidents, they happened at the nighttime? Because, due to intoxication, because if they happened in the later hours, when the school is closed, maybe electronic signs will be effective. Since it's like later.
I'm not sure the most recent accident actually happened during the day and the person was intoxicated
Around 3 o'clock.
around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think your point about, the speed sign, the residents weren't opposed to the speed sign, but that wasn't their first priority. Their first priority was the speed tables and then the sidewalks. This speed sign was more of like an afterthought. They were asked, how would they feel about it? But it wasn't something that they actually brought up themselves.
Yeah, it wasn't our first idea to the speed signs, but then the more we talked about it, the more I kind of grew into that. kind of creative way to approach the
Well, I think there was a concern about the flashing.
Right, it's,
Flashing light aspect of it and
Um,
bothering the neighbors.
Mhm.
I think that was
Yeah.
the one thing, but that was really helpful that the residents wanted the sidewalks and the speed tables, so that could be
Right.
phase one.
Both of those would increase the safety of that corridor.
Yeah, and then we can measure the effectiveness of
measure
it, and then we can
effectiveness.
discuss issues with, we can study the bike lane and the bikes and see how they're handling the speed humps. And at least it buys us 6 to 10 months' time to really get some good feedback and know what's, does that make sense to you? Okay.
I really only can support this, if they're temporary speed humps with a bicycle gap. And I may feel differently if I go out there and walk the area and see what's going in, but the specifics are new to me.
Well, if you want to look into various designs of speed tables,
But I mean, I think,
as part of the recommendation.
I think they're common, speed tables that are bicycle safe are very common. I don't think there should be a problem with doing what we want to do to cars and, making it safe for cyclists. I think it should be temporary, because I think we can get a lot of feedback, and I know you can rent them, because we talked about doing it on Blanchard,
Mhm.
the neighbors rejected
you know
that.
I'm just not sure if the fire department would approve
The
the
rented,
temporary rented ones. I'd have to check the.
But
Right.
did they approve the permanent one?
yeah.
Yes, that's what they provided.
They provided it,
It's from
yeah.
them.
And you had said that they're easy to remove.
They are. They sit on
If
top
it's
of
not
existing
being problematic.
asphalt and just
Yeah.
feed into the
Yeah.
edges. We scrape them off with a scraper.
Yeah. So that could be easily remedied.
And, then the other thing is just make sure that we're not contradicting the policy, or if we are contradicting that, we make a conscious decision to do so.
I'm pretty confident that the traffic engineer who did these plans, that policy was in place.
Okay.
She's smart enough. I've met her. She would have gone through the policy, but I will confirm.
Okay, well, I think we have a majority in terms of direction for the council
So-
or recommendation to
So
council.
Chair, that I'm hearing you're in support of the speed tables and the sidewalk at this time.
Yeah.
And see how those perform and perhaps adding more of these elements if needed.
As phase two, as needed.
I would like a bicycle safe.
And
And
confirm that
do
it's
a
bicycle safe.
study, sure.
I appreciate your direction. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, thank you.
I would like to know though, regarding the strike, I mean, the residents aren't traffic engineers, just because they say something's not gonna be effective, doesn't mean that's something we need to keep in mind as we move forward.
Yeah, but it's good that we have these multiple phases and, yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. Moving on to, new business. Oh, number two, follow-up questions on the 2024 annual pavement improvement project. Do we have any,
I just,
what are we,
I was told that you guys may have had some questions on the last one that we spoke of. I didn't recall. what
did
those
we,
were.
did we approve which streets were gonna be, I think we already talked, it's already been planned in the budget. hasn't
It is.
Right, but I think you guys had some questions you guys wanted to come back to.
There were leftover projects that we couldn't afford on the last round, so we were just going to roll those into this next year. Twin Creeks Road, Alexander Avenue, West Elwood Avenue, and Vinland Avenue.
Okay, let's see. Oh, well, you know,
I still have
I
to
don't
do
know.
the calculations on those to see how
okay,
much. of
well,
those
maybe
we
that's what that was.
actually
Good
can
night,
do.
guys. Thank you.
good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Maddie.
Once I've made those calculations, I'll make sure each one of you are sent an email to see what we're looking at. It's very important that you guys know what we're trying to focus on. So-
Right.
And if you guys see anything around town too, that you're like, this street, good God, we gotta do something with this.
Right.
Please contact me directly. There's no issues with that. Now, Highway 9, I wish I could be out there. That's Caltrans, so I'd be out there fixing that. My
Caltrans is a
goodness.
whole nother.
She looked at you.
That's
that
tough.
was-
That is tough.
I didn't know you can read minds.
Yes,
Well, Constitution was finished.
yes.
I think the big one was, the Poppy Vista, that's the really expensive one. Is that the one that council is that the one? I don't think we proposed that to council.
No, not.
Okay. Okay, well then we'll just have to come back in
Yeah.
May with some questions.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
I'm all ears if you guys see something around town that you
Sure.
need.
Okay,
I do remember there were questions. I don't remember what were.
it's not in the minutes, I'm just,
Well,
There's
listen, I'll
already-
pull that up, and when I get these numbers together, if I see something, remember, shop, then I'll make sure I contact you with that, so.
I did want to agendize last time, discussion about sidewalks.
Yes, it's actually in there in new business.
Okay, great.
So,
Okay, then, moving on to new business. First we,
can we, I know, it's only information, but can we go ahead and open for public comment? For,
Yeah.
yeah,
for the minutes.
no, for number 2, even though you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak on item 2? Please raise your hand.
No hands raised.
All right, thank you. I'll bring it back to the commission. Moving on, okay, item number 3, new business, approve the minutes for February 8th, 2024 Better Streets Commission meeting. Do we have any questions regarding the minutes at this time?
I do not.
No? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes as written.
All right, I'll. Second, okay.
Can we open for public comment?
Oh, yes.
Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on this item? Thank you, Boise.
No worries. No hands are raised.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second, roll call vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Was that a yes for you too, Natasha?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and finally, we are on to our last item. Or last 2 items, or last item. Discussion on sidewalk along Rose Avenue. Daryl, do you have any information for us at this?
Our neighbor here has
Mhm.
brought that up to us several times
Mhm.
about walking down Rose Avenue right here with us.
Right,
And they would, request that we look into putting in a sidewalk. If you walk down or notice our Rose Avenue here, most of all the houses are built out to the curb line.
Mhm.
That is within city right of way, so technically we could go to them and say, we want 5 feet of your front yards back and your driveways and your trees to be taken out. And we could do that legally. However, that'd be a very difficult accomplishment, just because of the feedback we would get from residential folks.
sure, and everyone would have to agree.
Everyone would have to agree to it, or we'd have to go through several potential lawsuits to try to make sure that that happens. We very costly maneuver. It's an option. If it's something that you folks want to support, we could look into what that would look like, what that would cost. But it'd be pretty intrusive of where people currently live and how they live within our town. And if you ever looked at our right of way, even if the project was that before, almost everybody's built out into the public right of way. And that's how we have that rural feel in our city that they know so much. So we can do that, but it's almost unprecedented in our city so far as to start taking back front yards and put sidewalks where we can. It can be done technically. It'd be an arduous thing to do.
I think it would be well outside of our budget and, a pretty difficult task to accomplish, but I'm sure we could find something, couldn't we just do a painted line, just like a bike lane?
We could. One thing that we do with new building permits, except ADUs, because we're restricted, if a new house is built, we can ask for curb and gutter and even sidewalk if we want at that point in time when there's a new construction going on. But if it's not a new construction, we typically have not historically asked for any type of frontage improvements. And if you build an ADU, the state has told us that we cannot require any public improvements with an ADU unit. So our hands are tied there.
Another way to handle this situation too is point out to them, our traffic calming policy, this would apply, and that requires them to go get a consensus amongst the neighbors
Right.
in advance of us doing anything.
Right.
And so I think referring them to that.
That's a great
It's the
solution.
easiest approach.
That would probably end that discussion, yes.
We actually had that happen, I think it was further down Rose, that they requested some traffic calming.
Mhm.
And we referred them to that policy, although it turned out that like most of the area on Rose that was impacted wasn't even in Monte Sereno.
Oh, you're talking about the roundabout down there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, there's a it's kind of wonky where the lines are. They had to talk to Los Gatos too, but they wanted kind of a roundabout situation there.
That's a great point. I worked in jurisdictions where we've had that policy. We need the whole neighborhood to sign off and the neighborhood had to pay for it. So, and it worked in some situations.
That usually changes. things.
Our policy was modeled on Los Gatos' policy, by the way.
Okay.
Great. All right, well, thank you for that. Any questions, comments? You good? Okay, committee commission reports, do you have anything to report?
I've got a couple minor things.
Before we move on, can we just open?
Thank you, Tracy. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on item 4 regarding sidewalks along Rose Avenue?
No hands up.
Thank you. I will return it back to the commission. Please go ahead, Commissioner.
All right, I was at the BTA, Bicycle District Advisory Committee meeting. One thing is there's new countywide bike maps, brand new, if anybody would like one. I'm happy to share it or give you one.
I'll take one.
Just FYI, that the county is looking at the complete streets look at Foothill Expressway all the way from Cupertino to Sand Hill Road. And so they're spending quite a bit of money just to figure out how to make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists, although it's really kind of the gold standard for cyclists right now. And if you work there or frequent that area, you might want to get involved and take a look at what they're doing.
Thank you.
There's something called the Central Bikeway, which goes from East San Jose. That's a vision. It goes from East San Jose to Santa Clara, eventual BART station. And the BJ has a $31 million grant to plan that bikeway to go all the way across, most of the way across the county. And then one other thing, the Los Gatos Streets Commission has set up a subcommittee to look at beach traffic. And so they're going to report back to their streets commission, I believe in May. So we want to keep an eye on what they propose, because in the past, Los Gatos has done things that negatively impact us.
Right.
So we need to stay on top of it.
Yes, very good. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Daryl may want to connect with the city of Los Gatos and what their Better Streets Commission is doing regarding beach traffic.
Yeah.
But nothing's come back yet.
Okay.
From I think it's called an ad hoc committee that's
Right,
meeting in
okay.
private.
Okay, we can kind of keep an eye on that because that will impact. Yeah, okay.
What was it last time when you reported that the entrance and exit from Freeway 17 will change, the construction was proposed to something like?
Yes. I mean, that's gonna happen, but that might be 10 years before it's
Right.
completely done. It's just in the
Oh, so
design.
it's a very long project.
Yeah, it's in the design phase right now, but it's definitely moving forward.
Mhm. I keep thinking about that, across the 17, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll just wait for summer. I mean, we get.
Yikes.
Okay, any future agenda items? Is there anything you would like to see on the next agenda?
Should this committee or commission, I forget what we are, review this traffic calming policy and make sure we understand it?
We can review this and
Not necessarily in the context of this, but
Right.
just in its own
Sure,
context.
I think that's a good
Because it seems like everybody forgot it existed.
definitely.
And you guys wouldn't even know it existed unless somebody told you.
Well, thank you for telling us. So yes, we will go over that the next
Sure.
meeting.
Good idea.
Okay, well, I think everyone's all set and we will adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, everybody.